Festac Festival 2025.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Africa Show.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Festac.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Ghana.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Festac.
Oh, Mama Africa, Festac Africa. Oh, 2025. Festac Africa.
From the 21st to the 27th of September 2025, the world will gather under one sky celebrating what unites us. Our culture, our heritage, our pride. Welcome to Festac Africa Festival 2025, a 7-day explosion of colors, rhythm, fashion, food and unity right at the Independence Square. Featuring daily cultural performances, movie screenings, 6 days of exhibition, 3 days of transformational conferences, Ghana versus Nigerian Jollof Rice Showdown, Kids Fun Fair, wellness, sports and tree planting, teaching and innovation, and a pan-African trade market where every country is invited. Festac Africa Festival is not just an event. It's a festival of impacting inclusion and changing lives. Powered by Ghana Tourism Authority. This is your moment to stand tall, collect globally, and showcase the spirit of Africa. Register today at www.festacafrica.org. Africa is ready. Ghana is ready. Accra is ready. Chale, are you ready? If you don't get it, forget about it.
Festac Africa. Oh, 2025. Festac Africa.
Yes, it's that time we sit and have conversations that matter, because this is Africa and Africa is our business. Depending on where you are, I greet you. Nusiemi betwa bumbote bana bayisolele. Molweni abantwana abangoni. Mpo salama watoto wa Mungu. Dayo dayo. Dumelang. Saubona. And as I stand corrected by a man who is not only a sculptor of stone, but a keeper of ancestral fire. For words hold power. Today I have the pleasure of hosting the legendary Professor Pitika Ntuli. Balete Nkulu.
Ngiyabonga.
Child of granite. When did the stone first whisper your name?
But before it whispers my name, then I have to say who I am first. I am an African caressed by African winds. Trade and anti-trade washed by her many rivers, pure and impure, endurance tested by the rugged edges of Mount Kilimanjaro and Ukashamba. Within the retina of my eyes, in the midst of sandstorms, I carry a clear vision of Africa's rebirth. I swear by every grain of sand in the Sahel and in the Kalahari. I tasted the fragrance of dawn in Nyanga, Langa, Kukulotu, in Soweto, and in Sharpeville, in my mother's womb. I was a neighbor to a bullet, and today I taste the fruits of dubious freedom in my land. Am I not the son of great African women? Of Pumekiti Lili of Kenya? Undingadongo of the Anzas? Yes, I'm the child that has suckled the languages of my people from my mother's sweating breast. Ngimkodide kandlela kasompisi kamsalela kanoma shingilo phemba ngamakhanda abanye baphemba kezibi umhlali kwanambala untuzimbundelane elanga. I've earthed myself with my ancestors so that whatever we speak, it is ordained.
Dai, dadaya, ngai dai. Nkulu, if you may, the ancestors whisper to you, but when did the stone first whisper to you? That you knew that it was not just a stone, but it was a story that you could tell.
Well, what happened is that my father was a pastor. His brother was a powerful Sanusi, a powerful, healer who took interest, in me. So when he was going about doing his rounds, I would accompany him as a young person. And then one day, he made me to sit in front of a tree and said to me, sit down here and look at this tree and don't stand up before this tree speaks to you. Now I'm about 17 and a half. How could a tree speak to me? I looked at this tree, and when I looked back at him, he was saying, no, just keep yourself there. And I kept on looking at the tree. Then in the end, in my mind, I said, if this tree that is supposed to speak to me was a human being, how would it look like? I began seeing the branches of the tree as arms. Viva! I began seeing things, in my mind. And then after that, he said, that's very good. We can go. I never associated that with art until when I was already in exile. The 10 years later, I sat in front of a tree, a dead tree. When I was watching him, I began seeing figures in it. Then I bought my chisel and my hammer, and I began hammering on that tree to be taught sculpture by the most ignorant person in the world, myself.
Students of the mother. And when you remembered, did the world change?
The world, changed. When I listened to the wind and I listened to people's voices, I could hear their words, but their words were become images. That's when again, then poetry had always been in it. My mother said to me when she was carrying me in her womb, her friends always came to visit her. One day she said, "Why are you so eager to visit me so regularly these days?" They said, "No, we are not visiting you. We are interested in hearing your rumbling stomach." Your rumbling stomach. Then my mother said, "You must have composed poem even before you had a language." So my poetry is also ancestrally bequeathed.
Indeed, indeed, Mkulu. What hides behind the gloss of the modern world? You once said that the future hides in the ancestors. How do we listen? And how do they speak? Mkulu?
Yeah, how do they speak? I think if we are in touch with ourselves, with our roots, with our ancestral things, and do the necessary rituals that streamline our thoughts and our feelings towards what is positive and very good, spiritually. That for me is the way that we need, to do. Always remembering that we are quantum entangled. All of us. You touch one, you actually touch the other. We are just part of a whole. We are not just individuals singing in the void.
They say that when a child rejects the mother, it does not heal. But you did not reject the mother. You were plucked from her bosom. If forgiveness had a language, vis-a-vis your answer that you are going to give, if forgiveness had a language, teach us that language, that we may also learn to speak it.
Forgiveness, starts from a very position as to whether how strong are you spiritually? How settled in your being? How safe do you feel in your ideas, in your emotions, and in your actions? And in that way, you are able to forgive, someone else because you've got an understanding that that person that had offended you has got some challenges. Those challenges are always normally kind of spiritual. Then you cannot just blame that person alone. We have got to bring in the ancestors of that person, in your mind, even if you just do not beat them, to know that they are also concerned about this person. So by forgiving this person, I am in league with their ancestors and my ancestors in bringing about a peaceful resolution of whatever conflict that may arise.
Fast forward. The skies are lit, but not with stars. Children who have not yet learned to speak return to the ancestors. Where
Because when you lift up your eyes and you look at the moon has got suggestions to you. It says to you, I want you to be full, like me, like a coin, round, perfect. But then there are sometimes when vicissitudes of life, come in, I've got to bury my head in the clouds myself. Then they call me gibbous. Then when I'm crescent, Manguni people say, I am there, a woman going to fetch water to quench the people of spiritual thirst.
Indeed, Mkulu. And they say that he who sleeps with a scratchy behind wakes up with a smelly finger.
You want to sleep with her?
The one who sleeps with an itchy behind wakes up with a smelly finger. The same ones that caused you to be plucked from your mother now stir the hornets, and these hornets, they sting. And this thing is about to spread around the world. What can we do to change this vibration?
When we talk about that, you take my mind now to Palestine. You take my mind down to Gaza. Take my mind to Iran, to Sudan, to Yemen. Where the devil is kind of, let loose, where humanity is crawling on its stomach, where children die clutching, crayons, in the rubble. All what we have got to do then is to keep firing the spirit of hope, that we should not look at all the distractions, that the missiles destroying buildings, hospitals, schools, human, beings. But that we have got to think actually beyond that. And it's also more important for us. We are linked with, Palestine, in the sense that we are settler colonial, people. And in my life, I've been involved with the Palestinian cause for a period of about 40 years, working with their poets and so on. That is why, very soon, within a month or so, my anthology on Palestine, in my heart, will be launched, here in South Africa. So it is mobilization. When we were in the hands of a colonial settler like the Palestinians are, we mobilized the whole world. Isolate apartheid, sanctions now. Isolate apartheid, sanctions now. Why are we not doing actually the same thing for Palestine, for everywhere where there is a blight on the eye of humanity that ruins our spirits? So mobilization, conscientization, training also young people to be aware of what is happening. We invest in the future of resistance.
Indeed, what you see seated, some may not see even from the highest skyscrapers. You're a seer and a sculptor. What is the difference between a seer and a sculptor? Or are they one?
A seer sees into the stone. The stone itself sees the seer and invited inside to say, I am all rough, inside here, but inside here, there is a beautiful figure that is waiting. Let us collaborate, because sculpture, as Michelangelo said, is you've got a big block of stone or wood. It's the easiest thing. You know that inside, there's Jomo Kenyatta. So you want to bring that Jomo Kenyatta out. All you have got to do is to remove everything that is not Jomo Kenyatta, in it, and what remains is that. So seeing and sculpting are so intertwined, so entangled that you cannot separate them. That's why when you are very good, then they said you've got a vision.
Mkulu, 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 Mkulu. Ah, you cannot be dropping nuggets of wisdom. I hope they don't miss that one.
We're talking about wisdom. Do you know? People miss it. In my language, Nguni, wisdom is ulwazi. 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 When you remove that zi at the end, what remains is ulwa. That means you fight. Z is knowledge. Therefore, ulwazi is something you've got to cling to, something that you have got to fight for. That's what the ancestors are. That language is a spirit, language is a philosophy, language is a root and the anchor of who we are. It is the breath of our existence.
Mkulu, many suffer because the war is here. You would have chosen hatred, but you embrace the cracked. And I'm sure there are times when you've sculpted and perhaps you're distracted and the chisel misses and it has to fall down. How do we embrace that? Do we borrow from the Japanese with the art of kintsugi, or do we rebuild vis-a-vis the motherland?
What we do, we rebuild, as we have always been, improvisational in our life. That is why with the Ngunis, every family has got its own praise songs. But those praise songs do not come in the same way. They carry the same, thing, depending on how you woke up, because you have got to add, certain things. Like when you come into my home, you must say, hey, mhlalukwana mbala nduli zimbunde lanelanga caba congo hloko emamba wena hlaba nomkhwekazi inhloni zikhambe nomlambo. You are honoring my ancestors before you even enter my house, and I must reciprocate on it. So that every meeting that we actually have is spiritual. Our existence as African people is spiritual.
Nkosi Mkulu. In this age of speed and forgetting, if a young artist is watching and they're probably on the roadside and nobody is giving them that platform, they have not had the journey that you have had, what advice would you give them?
All I can say to them is that whatever vicissitudes and challenges that you have, never give up. Because it is you and your ancestors, it is you and your God. Therefore, you do not have to give up that. We are dealing with people, if you expect it from government, if the South African government, for an instance, absolutely give up, because art is just something that just does not, that does not exist. We have national orders, but those national orders, of course, are given to other people, not the people that really don't deserve it. Some are disappointed, but some are not. They're saying, you don't get disappointed for what you are not going to get because of who you really are. So I would say to those young people that art is for those who cannot live without it. It is an imprint, a stamp, an ancestral God-given bequeath, a thing that is in you that you cannot shed off, like you can, shave your head, your hair off, or your beard off, or take your clothes off. It is embedded in you. It is entangled in you.
Nkosi Mkulu. So with your permission, I'm going to play a short presentation here. And it is the premise of my next question, with your permission.
Okay.
In Springs, Gauteng, South Africa, and grew up in Witbank and Mpumalanga. My journey took me through the struggle against apartheid, which led to my exile. In 1963, I moved to Swaziland, where I was eventually arrested and spent a year in solitary confinement on death row. International pressure helped secure my release in 1978, and I moved to the UK. There, I pursued my passion for education, earning an MFA and an MA in Comparative Industrial Relations and Industrial Sociology from the Pratt Institute in New York City. After my studies, I returned to England and taught at several prestigious institutions, including Camberwell College of Art and Central St. Martin's. In 1994, I returned to South Africa to continue my teaching career in fine arts at the University of the Witwatersrand and the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
Would you say, Mkulu, that best describes you? That is how they want us to remember you. Is that how you want to be remembered?
Yeah, except that up in the end, from Wits University, I joined the University of Durban, Westfield. That was called UDW. That had contributed a lot also to my formation and my relationship with the students, because when I got there, I became a deputy vice chancellor, while at the same time also offering lectures in political science.
Nkosi. And now to the youth that think they must become like the West to succeed. You see it, Mkulu, on this platform. We cannot turn a blind eye to them. What do you have to say to them?
Yeah, but you see, what's exactly happening is that colonialism is based upon the issue of dividing and ruling, of creating middle classes, which in South Africa we have so much succeeded that many of the educated people, when we see them walking with their children and we greet their children in their language, they'll say, please don't talk to my child, in that language. My child speaks, English. We have been so alienated. In other words, we still have got coloniality, that template of the coloniality of being that has turned up our minds almost willfully to accept the principles, philosophies and ideas that are actually foreign, to our African way of being and our African way of thinking. So we say, therefore, to those youth, know yourself, as St. Augustine say. Once you know yourself, then many of your problems will be solved very easily. So self-knowledge lies at the center of spirituality.
They say bones hold more wisdom than books. And
Bones hold more. They hold more on it. As I'm saying this, I'm speaking from the marrow of my own bones. I also have got bones in my head. If you've got a bone to chew with me about that, feel free.
Then Mkulu, then we also inherit from the ancestors, not just wisdom. What of the wounds we inherit? How do we go beyond that? Because a lot of Africa is stuck.
Sometimes it is very important to have wounds. In Africa, I think Rumi, the Sudi, poet, understood it. A wound is an opening where the spirit and the words of wisdom enter in order to close that womb and to cure and to seal you, back to your own precious skin. So wounds are the openings. Without wounds, then you cannot think deeper. You cannot feel, deeper. You need to have those wounds and to find a way of coming out of them so that you may be able to help the others that may not be as fortunate as you are to drag them out or their morass.
And Nkosi Mkulu, what is that one sculpture you feel?
Which one?
What is that one sculpture you feel you are yet?
The sculpture that I feel and I have here is of a child in the rubble holding a crayon and a crumpled piece of paper. The child was prepared, the creativity, when missiles that were sent by Netanyahu destroyed. That's what at the minute is capturing me, a symbol of a child, the symbol of the future, the symbols of our beginning, the symbol of our arising, the symbol of innocence, the symbol of straight talk. That's why, for me, you can put me in the midst of children for the whole day. That's when I know that I've really lived my life. I would laugh. I will be told exactly where I've got wrong, and I will laugh at it inside, knowing, because children are the spirit of being.
To what may seem the chisel to us, to you is a drumbeat. Mkulu, the great sages speak of the dreaded one, Moshiki wa damu. Is this the moment of reckoning?
This is a moment of reckoning, right? It's a moment of reckoning, because when we start looking at the world, you see how many right-wing governments are rising in Europe. What does it tell us? When we have right wing over these things, that is a judgment, in a sense, on Africa, that we are less than who we really are. But now, when you look at what's happening in Namibia, you look at what's happening in Ghana. You look at what Captain Traore is doing in Burkina Faso. You begin to realize that Africa is now raising with its young leaders, shaking the shackles of repression. And I think we need to go back to our founding fathers, the Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Toures, Julius Kambarage Nyerere, and all of those people who did not want nation states in Africa, who wanted a civilizational state, one civilizational state from Cape to Cairo, Morocco to Maracasi, with one currency, probably two languages, with an African high command, just like what China had done. Right now, what they do, they pick and choose. They attack the state in order to support the state and dribble us in around. But I think then it is about time that Africa begin to rethink our premise.
And Nkosi Mkulu. And they taught me, when an elder hands you a piece of meat, you eat it and you walk away. You don't anticipate another piece of meat until you are called. 3 is divine, for 0 is the womb. To ask more of that will be an insult to the vibration and to send you to the early tomb. No, that I shall not do. I shall honor and thank you.
Thank you.
For your most honorable time.
Thank you very much.
Enkosi mkhulu.
Mzee Bwana.
So perhaps a parting shot as we go into the outro.
A parting shot.
Yes. In our language, you speak best.
When I do this, I remember Bayete Shaka Zulu. Udlongwane kandaba odluke emanxulumeni kwaza kwasa abanxulume sibikelana usishaka sishayeke sijengamanzi unodumo ehlezi kamenzi ilembe leqamanya amalebe ngokukhalipha ushange sakuthi ushaka ushaya inkosi yamashobeni utekula abafazi bakanomgabhi betekula behlezi emlovini bethi shaka ayikubusa kakuba inkosi kathi lapho ezonethesela Bayete bena
Bayete.
I was born in Springs, Gauteng, South Africa, and grew up in Witbank and Mpumalanga. My journey took me through the struggle against apartheid, which led to my exile. In 1963, I moved to Swaziland, where I was eventually arrested and spent a year in solitary confinement on death row. International pressure helped secure my release in 1978, and I moved to the UK. There, I pursued my passion for education, earning an MFA and an MA in Comparative Industrial Relations and Industrial Sociology from the Pratt Institute in New York City. After my studies, I returned to England and taught at several prestigious institutions, including Camberwell College of Art and Central St. Martin's. In 1994, I returned to South Africa to continue my teaching career in fine arts at the University of the Witwatersrand and the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Africa Show.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Festa.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Ghana.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Festa.
Oh, Mama Africa, Ojele, Ojele, West Africa, Ojele. Oh, 2025, Ojele. West Africa, Ojele, Ojele.
From the 21st to the 27th of September 2025, the world will gather under one sky celebrating what unites us. Our culture, our heritage, our pride. Welcome to Festa Africa Festival 2025, a 7-day explosion of colors, rhythm, fashion, food and unity right at the Independence Square. Featuring daily cultural performances, movie screenings, 6 days of exhibition, 3 days of transformational conferences, Ghana versus Nigerian Jollof Rice Showdown, Kids Fun Fair, Wellness, Sports and Tree Planting, Teaching and Innovation, and the Pan-African Trade Market where every country is invited. Festa Africa Festival is not just an event. It's a festival of impacting inclusion and changing lives. Powered by Ghana Tourism Authority. This is your moment to stand tall, collect globally, and showcase the spirit of Africa. Register today at www.festacafrica.org. Africa is ready. Ghana is ready. Accra is ready. Chale, are you ready? If you don't get it, forget about it.